Okay, so No Nut November is honestly a big deal, and a lot of people don't understand that. But basically, back in my high school days, we had a certain rule for No Nut November, or November in general, I should say. You see, in November, in my high school, if you were able to grow a beard, you would participate in November, where basically you would grow your beard out and basically see how long you can make it. But as for guys who couldn't grow beards, well, they had to participate in No Nut November. Because in November, well, if you didn't hit puberty enough, I guess, you know, you're still in that stages of beating your eggplant like every day. And basically, you would have to basically participate in No Nut November. It was a golden rule in my school that you would have to do this, and a lot of guys actually did participate in it. And obviously, girls thought it was stupid because, well, you know, guys would get cuffed with, like, you know, other girls, and they expected to do the devil's tango. But if you were really one of the boys, you would understand that No Nut November is a massive deal. And today's story is about how I broke that to my babysitter of all things. So before we get into the story, make sure you guys do leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and let's just jump straight into this. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba, and welcome back to a really embarrassing story. So today's story all takes place back when I was 16 years old. Now, when I was 16, I'm not gonna lie to you, I was a major player, meaning that I would always, like, you know, go out, try to do the devil's tango, and be someone really toxic. I'm not gonna lie, I think I was really like one of those toxic males back in high school, and to be fair, I think nowadays it's appreciated to be a toxic male since Andrew Tate and, you know, all those guys like Sneeko and Neon try to, like, you know, push that out there on everyone. But I will say this much, obviously there are fake toxic males like them, and then there are real ones like me that basically just do it for the kicks and giggles. So I remember one time I was sitting at home and I was basically getting ready because, you know, Thanksgiving was coming up. At this point, I was 2 weeks into November and I was not beating my schlong, meaning that I would not go anywhere near my eggplant, and every time I was about to, or every time I got excited, I just thought about hitting the gym or playing video games or do anything else other than beating my meat. Now, obviously this was a good way and it was doing really good, but obviously one day I remember my mom and dad walked into my room telling me, "Oh, Bubba, I'm gonna tell you right now, we're going on vacation, so we're gonna not be able to be here to take care of you, but since you're not participating in school as much and since you're not doing good at school, we're gonna be having a babysitter to make sure you're okay." Now, obviously I hate babysitters. You guys know on this channel I've had so many babysitters growing up, and I won't lie to you, as naughty as I was, I don't think I deserved it, but at the same time it was my parents, right? So I can't disobey my parents. Now, when my parents told me I was gonna have a babysitter, obviously I was upset, and I was gonna tell them how I wasn't gonna do anything because I was in No Nut November, because at the time in high school I couldn't grow a beard. I told them many times, "Mom, Dad, I'm not gonna do anything, trust me, like, it's not that time of year." But obviously my parents didn't trust me because of all the other times I broke their trust with, you know, them walking in on me with other women, which was not smart of me, by the way, but hey, what can I say? I was a pretty naughty kid back in high school. And from there I was pretty sad and upset, and the next day came around. My parents got ready to go on vacation to go see family for Thanksgiving. As for me, well, I'm not gonna lie to you, I ended up staying home doing my homework. Yes, I actually ended up doing my homework because, well, you know, it was another distraction that I could go to instead of beating my schlong, or my eggplant, as I usually say on this channel. I remember as I was doing my homework though, I ended up hearing a knock on the door, and obviously I knew in my head that was my new babysitter. I ended up basically going downstairs, and I basically ended up like sitting on the side, seeing who my new babysitter was, and who in the world also would want to babysit me, especially like near Thanksgiving. Like, really? Like, do you really not have family to go to other than babysitting me? Like, you need serious help. But basically I ended up looking at the door and kind of leaning over and seeing who was coming in, and I saw it was this fine babysitter. Like, I'm not joking when I say this, like, she was so fine, she was so attractive, and my eyes like opened wider when I looked at her. Oh my goodness, like, she was a 10 out of 10. I don't know where my parents found these babysitters. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know if they like literally, you know, went on a website or something, but I'm telling you right now, like, these babysitters were coming straight out of like the hottest Tinder app you can find. Like, it made no sense to me where these babysitters were being found. I remember I ended up going downstairs and I'm like, "Oh, like, hi, like, I'm Bubba," and I introduced myself to her right away. Obviously I wanted to play it cool, but then my mom ended up coming in saying, "This is the guy you're going to be babysitting." Thanks, Mom. Thanks. Yeah. I'm the one you're babysitting, is what I told her afterwards. She looked at me really weird and she's like, "Oh, like, are you like younger than you look?" No, I'm 16. You know, my mom and dad, they just don't trust me. So, you know, it's just one of those things. She looked at me really curiously, but then afterwards said, "Okay, well, I'm gonna be here for 2 nights apparently. So, yeah, okay, cool. Let's just see how this works out." She sounded like she was really like weirded out because obviously staying in a house alone with a 16-year-old is obviously very bizarre. But I remember an hour later, my whole entire family left and I ended up staying with her at the house. Now, this is is where the story gets really awkward because I remember as we're like, you know, she was at the house, I basically went up to my room and started playing video games because I didn't know what else to do. And obviously, like, I'm not gonna lie, she was really attractive. And since it was No Nut November, there was no way I was gonna lose to this fine babysitter. So obviously from there, I ended up staying in my room, playing Call of Duty, talking to the boys, just doing anything that does not require me thinking about beating my schlong or my eggplant. And then one thing led to another. I remember I ended up hearing a knock on my door. It was my babysitter. She walked in and she told me, "Oh, Baba, I'm just curious. Is it like cool if I take a shower?" Yeah, it's cool. "Oh, like, can you show me which bathroom to use?" Yeah, I'll show you right now. I ended up walking her to my bathroom because I didn't know if my parents wanted her using their bathroom. So I ended up walking her to my bathroom and I told her to use this. She ended up basically saying thank you. And I ended up leaving right away because obviously, like, I'm not going to stay there for the show, if you know what I mean. So I remember I ended up running straight to my Xbox, sat down, and then I just ended up playing Call of Duty. I was in an Xbox Live party chat with me and the boys, and I ended up talking to them saying, "Yo, guys, literally my babysitter's taking a shower and she's hot, bro. Like, she's really hot." My friends ended up like talking to me saying, "Bro, that's kind of weird," and stuff like that. But as I was explaining to the guys how attractive she was, I am not joking, she literally ended up going to my door, knocking on it once again with my door wide open, and I saw her and only in a towel. And she looks at me saying, "Oh, Baba, do you know how to like turn on like the water? Like, I don't understand it." I ended up looking at her, and you guys have no idea how hard it was not to get bricked. Like, it was literally mission impossible to the point where I got up, I ended up walking her over to the bathroom again, and I ended up turning on the water. And right before I ended up leaving, she saw that I was bricked. How did she see? Well, I was wearing sweatpants. Like, I was literally wearing sweatpants, right? So she clearly saw that I was bricked over here. Like, it was not easy, boys. It was not easy. You saw I was bricked, and she literally looked at me and said, "Are you okay?" She ended up kind of smiling, and to be honest, I didn't know the age of this babysitter, but I think she was like 27 maybe, and I was 16. I'm not really sure. And I ended up looking at her saying, "Yeah, I'm good." And I ended up running into my room. Nothing happened afterwards. She ended up taking her shower, and I ended up staying in my room, basically just, you know, laying on my bed, praying that I don't touch my eggplant, because obviously I don't want to fail No Nut November. But then this is where the story gets really broken, and this is where I ended up failing, because right after her shower, this babysitter thought it'd be a great idea to walk into my room with her towel and her being soaking wet, smelling like dandelions. And she looks at me saying, "Oh, Baba, I was just like curious, like, are you okay?" I looked at her questioning why was she checking in on me in a towel. But then afterwards, she decides to turn around and her towel dropped, and I saw her peach like never before seen. And at that moment, I knew I couldn't handle myself. I couldn't. Guys, I'm a hypersexual. Like, I literally could not refuse. I remember I ended up walking up to her. I picked up her towel for her. And one thing led to another. We made out and we ended up doing the devil's tango. We ended up doing that for the next 2 nights. And I knew at that point, like, I was already long gone, because at that point, I failed No Nut November. I failed the boy. Literally, the year I was 16, I failed No Nut November. And at that moment, I was really sad, obviously. I was really disappointed in myself too. And the guys at school found out about it as well. And they were really disappointed in me because, well, I left my Xbox mic on, so they kind of heard everything she was, you know, yelling and moaning. But that's not the point. All I'm gonna say is that babysitter honestly was one of a kind. And this is actually one where I didn't get caught, because, you know, me and her sometimes talk to this day. And yeah, by the way, she did give me permission to say the story as long as I didn't say her name. But anyways, guys, that is basically it for today's story. Make sure you guys do leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And like I always say, just follow for more embarrassing stories just like this one. All right, peace out, guys.